So, tell me about your week, Austin. What interesting wrestling have you endeavored in other than the one we report here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling?
Uh, my week's been rather good. Last Saturday, this past Saturday, I went and attended a local promotion out of Forsyth, Georgia, called Russell America, ran by a guy named Bob, with
Hmm.
ring announcers as Peach State's own Ben Masters. And folks, if you're not familiar with Georgia wrestling, Peach State wrestling was a mainstay in Georgia back in the 70s and the 80s. But there's tons of awesome talent on this card. They had many title changes, interesting hills, storylines are always compelling. They set up for the next show, which is, can't really say it, but it's Halloween next month in Forsyth. They're going to have a 2 out of 3 falls match. KJ Impala defends his Liberty Championship against Parker Lee. Wreckage in the Wreck, 6-man tag
Parker
match
Lee,
with,
is that anything like Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker?
is most
That's
definitely
not
is.
definitely couldn't be. No. Um, you told me something on Messenger a while back though that in discussing this is going to bring us to our topic as we're going to talk about the territories. This is more like your type of territory type of wrestling, and it's actually one for the history books as well because it has its heritage there, as you had previously told me in a message, did you not?
Correct, I did. The ring announcer, Ben Masters, he too one time was a booker for a promotion, a territory here in Georgia. As a matter of fact, about 18 minutes up the road in Cordell, which is Chris County, went by the name of Peach State Wrestling. Guys like Rock and Roll Express, Jake the Snake got their start in this territory. So Ben Masters is a mainstay here in Georgia, specifically.
Very interesting indeed. Very interesting, Austin. That is Jake the Snake and Rock and Roll Express from from this from this mainstay here.
Exactly, yes.
Wow.
From Peach
I
State Wrestling.
had I had only seen Mid South wrestling when Jake had started it out here because Mid South was Louisiana and everything. But as we talk about territories, let's also talk about, we know Vince McMahon killed the territories to explode his company, which is no longer his company. And do you ever think territories will return with all these various promotions and their own individualized world champions and everything? I mean, we know, as after the territories was eaten up or closed down by the World Wrestling Federation, I'll say it that way instead of the initials. I don't want to get in trouble with the World Wildlife Fund, um, or anything here. But I do want to say though that after it was shut down or eaten up by that organization and everything, we were down to just 2 organizations. We have more wrestling promotions than WeboManiacs World of Wrestling could ever hope to keep up with. including women's wrestling. I saw one on Pluto TV of all things, and it was named WOW, Women of Wrestling. Have you ever endeavored into certain things like that?
You know, I've been meaning to, but I haven't yet to take a dive into that. I do know women of wrestling is a big thing. I'm gonna have to check it out myself. But as you were saying, without the territories, we wouldn't have the amount of companies we have today. The territories were a jumping point, if you will, to get where we are today. I do not agree. I don't like the fact that Vince bought them out because there was so much good talent. You had NWA, you had AWA, you had WCCW. Promotion territories like that were packed to the roof with talent back in the day.
There's good points. There's good points and bad points, though, that could be raised to raise a debate on your point there, Austin. But I'll just say it like this: if in the Memphis territory, that of one Jerry Lawler and everything, if the territories weren't bought up by Vince, would we have such classic duo team commentators as one Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler?
No, we would not. We wouldn't have commentators like that.
Yeah. So there's good points to what Vince did, but there's more greedy points of why he did. And but you're right. If it had been left alone, do you think certain Hall of Famers, like say one Hacksaw Jim Duggan, could have been something more than someone carrying a board around yelling out "Ho"?
He most definitely could have. Most definitely.
I mean, there was Stampede Wrestling, which was out in the Washington and Calgary territories, and stuff like that. Of course, you had Georgia Championship Wrestling. Gordon Soley was with that, as well as Dusty Rhodes down in Florida Championship Wrestling, involving that, and of course Mid-South down here in Louisiana, Texas, and of course you had Texas with the Von Erichs in the World Class Championship Wrestling and things of that nature. That brings me to another point that I would love to raise a question for. And if anyone else out there has questions, you can write us at WeboManiac@yahoo.com, or Austin, what's your address?
A Goodrow 19 at gmail.com. The A is lowercase, folks, no spaces.
A Goodrow 19 at gmail.com. That's how you get in touch with us. But the question that I wanted to raise here in involving territories and stuff is I wanted to get your take on who would be your Mount Rushmore. We're going to call it Mount Rushmore as opposed to Rushmore. Rushmore has presidents. As I said in one of our last shows, presidents don't belong in wrestling. Who's your favorite four?
Well, my Mount Rushmore, my favorite four: Bret Hart,
for the technical side of things, I can understand that. Yes.
Technical side of things. mic skills, it's going to have to be Ric Flair.
Yes. Yes. He's on mine as well, believe it or not. I'll share with you mine in just a little while if I haven't already sent you the photo of it.
Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Undertaker,
okay.
and I know his name isn't look good down upon these days in the wrestling scene, but Chris Benoit.
For the more extreme, also technical, but more extreme. What's the word I'm looking for? Joint manipulation kind of things like Pete Dunne does in the ring today, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But
Pete Dunne reminds me a little bit of Benoit.
So in putting those together, though, were you considering just the honoring of history of or something? Now, could I choose any opponent and either of your four have faced every one of those type of opponents? Because mine is, I would normally put Vince up there, but Vince didn't wrestle as much until later on. For years on end, Jesse the Body would always tell him, "You've never been in that ring, McMahon. You don't know what it's like." Okay, and then he found out what it was like. And he made a smashing record for his own self in that instance. But let's be honest, Vince and Hulk were actually synonymous with each other. They built by bringing it up, and Vince built around Hulk in that sense. And so that's why I put Hulk's face on there first. Then I would go with somebody you wouldn't expect, Jeff Jarrett. The Jarretts actually, from actually running wrestling companies to starting new ones, which, as previous to our discussion, you said we wouldn't have had a lot of these new ones, and look at what we have today. He started TNA. Okay. He started GWF. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's one of the reasons Jeff Jarrett gets my vote for the second face on Mount Rushmore. And the third would in fact be Ric Flair, based on the just the longevity of history making moments that he's had and the impact he's had on this business. He brought the gang mentality of the Horsemen into storyline like nobody else has. Okay. And the drama, the effect with just the woo that he would say, and you got to say woo with six O's or five. I think it's 5 O's. Anything more than 5 or something, Flair's coming after you. Okay, but woo. And then the fourth one that I place on there, it was a toss up for me. I was either going to be the Undertaker as per your choice or something, but I had to go with the one that I felt that really raised the bar by fighting off guys such as The Rock, as well as The Undertaker and Triple H, of course, was in fact Stone Cold. So those are my top 4 that I actually feel will be memorized by fans and never forgotten or something. But guys like Benoit, I was on a page just the other day watching something about Benoit, and I'm not putting your guy down, but what I'm trying to say, because I mean he was one of my favorites athletes to just watch do what he did, mimicking that of the Dynamite Kid. Okay, let's face it, he was that good. Um, and everything. But the article that I saw, Austin, it was it was actually touching on the fact that now that Triple H is in charge, could we ever see Benoit in the Hall of Fame? And the comments that were coming across, some of them derogatory, some of them just a little bit more blunt, basically saying that of y'all can keep wishing, but he killed people, he killed himself, he killed, and they were like, it's never going to happen. Is the way it goes. But that's where the difference in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling, which y'all can see us, on Saturdays, and it's good to have you back with us here, Austin, after your week hiatus and everything. And I had to essentially take a week off myself, just just after that hurricane and everything, and because we get them out here in Louisiana. You're in Georgia, I'm in Louisiana. You've been here, you know the drill, and everything. But he's as far as back onto the topic of territories, it and Benoit was he was just one of the greatest to make you submit your life away almost, in that ring without killing you, essentially.
He most definitely was. Benoit was just one of those you watch in the ring, the technical prowess, the charisma. He had it all.
That's why I want to, over here in my studio domain, man cave, whatever you would like to call it, I want to get myself a dog cage kennel kind of thing, which would mimic the look of a Hell in a Cell. And I'd love to stick the figures of one Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley, in there with the Rabbit Wolverine inside my own Hell in a Cell, and watch hell go by me forever,
Yeah.
and I would put I don't know, I'd find some kind of a manager like Jim Cornette and hang him from a bird cage above that cage. Oh Lord.
Hanging managers from cages were big. Hanging managers in cages were big in the territories, folks. There is a lot of matches with those stipulations back in those days.
Tell them more about it, Austin. The floor is yours. I want to hear.
The territories were wild, folks. Anything and everything was bound to happen back then. You see, back then,
scaffold matches too, wasn't it? Scaffold matches with the Legion of Doom.
One scaffold match in particular that looks out to me was a Starrcade, and I do believe Cornette was the manager in that said scaffold match.
Yeah, with the Midnight Express. Exactly. And the Road Warriors, I believe.
Exactly. But back in the territory, folks, anything could happen. I mean, back then, you were on the road 7 days. You were on the road 7 days a week. You were going from territory to territory. One day you might be in Evansville, Indiana. The next day you might be in Shreveport for Mid-South. The Sportatorium in Dallas for WCCW. Wrestlers back then went everywhere, even to the little known territories like Portland Wrestling in Oregon, where one Raven got his start at, folks. Make that point across.
What about me? What about Raven? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you hightail on down to Memphis where you had guys like Lawler.
Wasn't his real name Scotty Riggs, wasn't it?
Yes,
I believe.
His real name was Scotty Riggs. Yes.
Okay, yes. In talking about territories and wrestling, if it was left the way it was, or if it does try to come back to what it is, when we talk about stars that only are stars, or they only seem to become stars because WWE is your place to be a lot of times. And since the territories were bought out by Vince and made WWE the place to be, when we say someone got their start, like you, for example, you're in backyard wrestling. That's primarily territorial for you, is it not, my friend?
Yes, it is. It most definitely is territorial for me. Most definitely.
So I mean, in that point, I would say that territories, as far as when you say you're getting your start, I would say if you had just the territories stayed in place, everybody would primarily be their own star. You just really wouldn't know it because there wouldn't be that much of a showcasing of it. And that's why Vince did what he did in pre-recording his matches, and also including other people's that came to certain towns while he was recording, where he had people like Andre the Giant, where he had people like Piper, who was from the Mid-Atlantic area, and things of that nature. And that's how the noticeability of seeing someone on camera. We have cameras now. Everybody says Big Brother's watching everything these days or something. Back then, Gene Okerlund was the one to tell us what the world is watching. And that's what got eyes on it. That's what got eyes, and that's why the WWE and a lot of fans, yours and mine, became the place to be. So when you say you got your start, or someone's gotten their start, and they end up, and they say it's such an accomplishment in going to WWE, is that a thank you, or is that a, you're the son of a gun who did this to make this hard of a crawl for all of us anyway?
And some point it could be a thank you, but it could also be the point you made, because a lot of times guys, when they weren't getting the pushes they wanted or they thought they deserved, they'd move on to the next territory. And if that didn't work, they move on down the next road. And if that didn't work, then they'd go to Big Brother, which was the World Wrestling Federation back in the day.
I see. I see. So territories, they have their good points and they have their bad points, but in the weighing of the scales, knowing what the weight of the World Wrestling Entertainment is these days, and the burnout that can happen as a fan, you can experience what's considered burnout, because you'll say, well, I saw this storyline, I picked that book up already. I watched that. This happened. Okay. When are you going to show me something that either I haven't seen that doesn't have to go along the lines of, oh, I don't know, putting a bag over someone's head like Moxley did, Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, I should say, in his matchup. I'll be talking to you more about that in updates to come. And don't forget, folks, stay tuned for Comedy Post Corner. Okay, coming up here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. Austin, this has really been a great showing here, talking about the territories and everything. And we've also got your individualized segment that will be around the corner here with NXT Rising Stars. Care to give anyone just a snippet of, with what you've already told me, that the production crew has it all ready to be spliced together? Just don't give too much away. Just keep them on their heels. Tell us what you think a little bit about NXT.
Most definitely, folks. NXT Rising Stars segment with yours truly, Austin Blaze, is the place to be. I have news, signings, everything exclusive to NXT, folks. You don't want to miss a skip, and you don't want to miss a beat. Stay cool, and don't forget to stay on the Blaze.
And we will be coming back on the other side of this break. Thank you, Austin. This has been WeboManiacs World of Wrestling's Top Topics. And next week, what are we going to discuss, Austin? What do you think we should discuss, since we haven't really got too many fans to write in just yet or something? What should be our next top topic?
Next top topic, I believe, should be I got a good one. Stars of the 2000s.
Stars of the 2000s, how they made their mark, who they beat, and where they are today. I like it. I like that. That will all be coming up next week on WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. See you next week, folks.
Hey, all you stay-at-home parents and entrepreneurs out there, if you're thinking about starting your own online business, whether it's a service, e-commerce, or any kind of business, head over to levelingupwithg.com. Check out my free masterclass. And after you watched it, be sure to book your free call today. Remember, levelingupwithg.com is the place to be.
Wow, that's strong, brother.
Flying on the dotted line.
I will, brother.
And surrender the title to me.
Welcome, everyone, to WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. I am the WeboManiac.
As a fan of wrestling for over 20 years of my life, I've noticed a couple people first. Bob Orton's son, Randy. As soon as he got into WWE, everybody seen he was truly gifted, a physical specimen.
But you got to think that transition from the 80s to the 90s, there was a whole line of superstars that were ahead of their time. None other than Paul Triple H Levesque. He went from a messed up character in Terrorizing on WCW to one of the biggest heels in professional wrestling history.
You just never know what you're gonna hear in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling.
Hello, folks. It's yours truly, Austin Blaze, here at WeboManiacs World of Wrestling, coming to you with the NXT Rising Stars segment. Today, I'm here to announce a potential signing that could change the course of NXT and WWE as a whole. None other than former TNA Tag Team Champions Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, Motor City Machine Guns, that's right folks, could possibly be coming to your screens on NXT and WWE programming. Imagine the landscape and how that could change and elevate the tag team division. Stay cool. And a highlight that I watched earlier this week, I seen the Don talking to somebody in a hood, in a hoodie. It would seem to me that we could possibly see TNA's Moose coming after Obafemi for the North American Championship. Not entirely sure there, folks, but that's a developing situation. Also, next week I'll have more on the situation with Ethan Page and Trick Williams. I do have a situation developing between Wes Lee and the Rascals. It looked like Ava Raine will not be guaranteeing Wes Lee his match against one of the Rascals tag team members. That's all I got for this week, folks. Stay tuned for next week on NXT Rising Stars. Brought to you by yours truly, Austin Blaze. Here on WeboManiacs World of Wrestling.
Greetings, folks. We're here for more updates in and around everything that is wrestling, as this is WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. And to start off, I will tell you that one of the headlines that's grabbing the wrestling world by storm is the fact that Roman Reigns is coming to the side and the aid of Cody Rhodes. A disgruntled Reigns, rightfully so, doesn't actually want to team with the man that ended his elongated reign as champion. Roman is actually more concerned with Solo and the bloodline, as he's trying to actually regain something he never lost, which is the status as the tribal chief. Just because Roman lost to Cody does not mean that he is still not the tribal chief. And the other members that Solo has brought in as his own tribe, Solo may be the tribal chief of his tribe, but Roman Reigns needs a little bit more assistance, as he's on his own island of relevancy, without a wise man, without anyone in his family to back him up. Or does he? Because after Cody actually walked away and said he was done with the bloodline, only did he find himself on the occasion, after defeating Solo inside a steel cage on SmackDown, as they debuted on the USA Network, and they wanted to start it off with something big, and this was big. But the scenario of cage matches always ends up to be the eventual winner can actually be the ultimate loser of the war. And that is indeed the case as to what was getting ready to happen to one Cody Rhodes. Cody, after winning the cage match against Solo, in defeating him in the center of the ring, as you might expect, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, all interact and get involved. And they think they've got Cody cornered or caged, as it were. And it was until Roman Reigns came to a rescue for one Cody Rhodes. And then trying to play divide and conquer was one Solo Sikoa actually trying to say Roman has nobody. And sure enough, Cody stepped up, offered the help. Roman accepts it, disgruntled look on his face, and deservingly so, considering the status of one tribal chief. Stay tuned for more highlighted updates here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. We're bringing you now Post Comedy Corner here in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay tuned next week for another thrilling edition of WeboManiacs World of Wrestling. I think it's from Cena, but I can't see it. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's stupid, alright. Jericho is coming to town. Come to daddy. No, I want my mommy. This is my yard. No, this is my yard. The moment when you hear the food is ready, the moment when you eat something really spicy, and when you take a bite of your food and realize it's burning hot. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Types of teachers: the cool teacher, the strict teacher, the hot teacher, boring teacher, the clueless teacher, crazy teacher, teacher that buries you in homework, and the principal that shoves the school rules down your throat. When you realize your phone is at 1%, Terra Twin powers activate. Shape of bisexual Undertaker. Form of goth muscle mommy. Close enough. Yo, Randy, you been hanging out with my cat again? Yeah, why? No reason. Chris Jericho's moveset. John Cena's moveset. You can't see that, but we'll see you next week in WeboManiacs World of Wrestling.